Clowns. We love them, we laugh at them. They entertain us to the best of their ability, but sometimes they became something we fear since we were children. But come on, they're just silly little comedy acts that bring the fun to the party. What could possibly be wrong with them? Greetings, my horror enthusiasts. My name is Rojo, a demon wolf here to warn you about the freaks that roam our world. You all remember what a circus is, right? A fun place for the whole family to see a bunch of people doing comedy acts and dazzling talents all under their leader, the ringmaster. They travel around the world to entertain as many guests as they can. But for this video, I'm only going to talk about one of those performers. Clowns! Colorful, friendly looking, hilarious clowns. I'm sure all of us have heard of clowns before, right? Think of them as comedians or those medieval court jesters, but instead of just telling jokes here and there, they do a bunch of physical comedy acts, almost like watching a live sitcom at a TV studio. They were the life of the party at the circus and were conveniently used in between different circus acts while the performers got ready to take the stage. They became so popular, there were even clowns for hire for children's birthday parties and were also featured on different kid shows on TV. They were hilarious to most children. However, there were some that were actually really terrified of them. Everyone has something to fear, especially children being afraid of almost anything. Clowns were the most common ones to be afraid of. Trust me, I would know. Let's just say that when I was a kid, I was terrified of them. It didn't help the fact that when I went through my first haunted houses, I got to see the dark side of these clowns. It was haunting my brain for years afterwards. Thankfully though, I'm used to seeing them. But how did they become the most nightmarish things to certain people? Well, to find that out, let's take a closer look at their behavior. These clowns do the same kind of comedy routines for years on end. They say a joke that is either a dad joke or a pun, they make a fool of themselves by getting themselves hurt, and they are greeted with laughter in the end. We're talking hundreds of people laughing at them. Now, to some, it's what they expected. It's their job to make others laugh. But let's say one of them had a bad history of getting made fun of in school and was constantly getting bullied, both by kids and adults. All that would drive that person to the brink of insanity. You remember the term insanity, right?
Insanity is doing the exact same f***ing thing over and over again. Shit change. That is crazy.
There were multiple cases in which clowns in circus events and carnivals happened to go a little too far with their comedy acts. Most of them range from getting a little too close to children to straight up murdering their victims they have been obsessed with in a short span. The most famous case is our very own Pogo the Clown in 1970s Illinois, John Wayne Gacy. While he wasn't dressed up as a clown as he committed the murders, nor did he work at a circus, he used the clown costume and his alter ego to be friendly towards his soon-to-be victims. Even before he became Pogo the Clown, he would plead guilty to assaulting a teenage boy as he exhibited a growing tendency towards sadism. Yet, as the case is dropped, the community in Norwood Park Township welcomed him with open arms. This is when he hosted annual parties in the summer, beginning Pogo's appearance. Throughout the 70s, Gacy would use Pogo the Clown to get close to whatever teenage boy or young man he sets his eyes on, get them to agree to come to his house, and then the gruesome crimes would unfold. After he had his fun with the boys, he would murder them to make sure they were never found. It wasn't until 1978 that Gacy would kill his final victim, 15-year-old Robert Pierce, that authorities would finally get involved after Robert's parents reported him missing. He would be under investigation until the police discovered numerous bodies under his house. He would be found guilty of all 33 murders and received the death penalty. During his final days, he became a prolific painter that mostly depicted clowns. But he wouldn't be the only case that involved clowns. In Florida in 1990, Sheila Keene Warren murdered Marlene Warren in Wellington. Marlene answered the door to Sheila dressed up as a clown with balloons and gifts before shooting her in the face, dying 2 days later. It wasn't until 2017 that Sheila would be charged for second-degree murder, later pleading guilty in 2023. It was around this time that clowns were now becoming more feared in a psychological sense. This started a fear trend known as coulrophobia, which is the fear of clowns. Most people became afraid of people dressed as clowns since it hides the person's identity, wearing a bunch of makeup that hides facial expressions, and wearing costumes with exaggerated features, having them act chaotic with big smiles, wide eyes, and distorted proportions of their body. And when it comes to things people fear, it jump shot its way into the horror community. Thanks to the fear of clowns becoming a huge phenomenon, there were many horror films that focused on that fear, the most famous film being It. While the monster only shows what the children are mostly afraid of, the majority of them happen to fear clowns, which explains the numerous appearance of Pennywise the dancing clown. This enhanced the fear of clowns the majority of people started having, especially children. Even the movie Poltergeist showed that fear thanks to the creepy clown doll. These symbolize the fear of something that should be safe. Different movies and shows that focus on psychological horror go beyond the limit of what people fear every day, having the media be inspired to keep it alive, much like what happened in 2016. In 2016, the creepy clown panic had people all over the US panicking, with reports of seeing different individuals dressed as clowns spotted all over the place. Public areas, deserted roads, in the middle of the woods, all of them having this uncanny appearance of what they were doing there. It scared the public so much, schools had to go into lockdown, and increased police activity happened to catch these crazed clowns scaring everyone. But all this happened as a way to promote upcoming 2017 adaptation of It. Regardless, this showed how clowns became the most untrusted and feared monsters people have known, filled with mass hysteria and mistrust amongst the community. And it wasn't just for the horror film industry. There were many games and stories that mentioned how these clowns were feared and showing their twisted appearances in the eyes of those with said fear, ranging from a creepy mascot killer to something more supernatural. Those that are familiar with demons, I think you know which one I'm talking about. So as you can see, not everything in your childhood was all happiness and rainbows. Clowns have also creeped their way into your subconscious, bringing in a new type of fear that I have no doubt you are going through right now. Do you currently have a fear of clowns? Well, you should have told me before I showed all this in your face. Ain't my fault you clicked on this video. Anyways, as colorful and hilarious looking these clowns are, they also have that dark secret all behind that facade mask they hide underneath them, playing with your trust and making you think you're in a safe place until they start to strike you down when no one is looking. Obviously, not everyone is currently a psychotic murderer that hides in a clown costume. Some are actually friendly and trusting comedy acts. But that's when the fear kicks in. You wouldn't know which is the good clown or the bad clown. Their identities are hidden, their motives are unclear, and they do the same thing as the last clown, winning your trust just to use you as their next body bag count. Think about it. Where else did they get the name Funhouse to begin with? Is it fun for people like you? Or is it sadistic fun for them? You'll never know until it's too late. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos that explains more fears, then leave a like and comment down below. Subscribe for more content like this, and hit that bell icon to know when I upload a new video. Until then, keep your fears and anxiety levels high. I'll see you very soon.